Hi everyone, your auntie's back. I wanted to talk about a topic that's been on my mind the past day or two, and it all has something to do with the Steam machines that Valve just revealed. And I guess let's probably lump in the new controller and also the new VR headset, which the name kind of escapes me right now. You know me, like I'm forgetful for my old age. I am 46 years old, even though I still look as youthful as I am. But I want to be honest though, before we start. When I actually saw the news, I quickly dismissed it. Immediately my mind went to my previous thought when the first set of Steam machines were released, thinking about how this piece of hardware really has no place in games these days. In fact, I literally recalled what I said way back in the day, which is, who the hell needs a Steam machine in this day and age? Now, back in the day though, we still had a thriving console system with really powerful first-party games. And while today's first parties aren't no slouch either, the output of the first parties way back then when the first set of Steam machines came out were massive. It almost felt like we were getting 2 or 3 first-party games every single year. But 2025 is very different from whenever those first machines came out, because you're seeing Sony essentially having a tough time outputting at least 1 or 2 of these games per year. We used to get 3, 4, or 5 that are published by Sony, whether it's the first-party AAA developers that they owned, or indie developers that they partner with. Now, granted, there is like this capitalist part of them that's saying like, oh, these indie games didn't sell as much as the AAAs, which is a very unfair comparison, to be quite honest. But this has led us to the moment that we have today, where we're literally waiting for almost a decade for a lot of these games to come out, hoping that that justifies our purchase of all of these consoles. And with Sony releasing an $800 PS5 Pro, now granted, that is for luxury purchases only, I find it really difficult to justify a console, especially if your first parties, and this is something that was different from today compared to back then, are arriving on PC anyway. I also want to bring you back to a video that I made earlier this year that talked about how Microsoft is probably developing a portable Xbox that's separate from whatever came out recently, that not only plays Xbox games, but also Steam games as well. And what I find so fascinating about Valve's announcement of these new Steam machines, it's as if they're basically facing Microsoft and saying, no man, we're good. We're gonna do our own thing. And that perspective, that thought that maybe the Steam machines could have a place in today's day and age, is an idea that I wish I came up with myself. My friend Taylor, who you know as the Gaming Shelf, actually reflected this idea on Twitter yesterday, which is a statement that actually made me really think. Because if the Steam machine is 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, maybe it is time for Valve to step into the console wars. And maybe the Steam machines could probably be just as customizable as the Steam Deck. The point is that Valve has been working towards this for a very long time, and I think they have planned this from the very beginning. And honestly, I'm all for revisiting old ideas that didn't quite work, especially if there's a time and place for them. And they earned so much goodwill with their Steam Deck and, of course, their fantastic Steam library, which, by the way, I remember in 2004 writing to Gabe Newell saying like that the Steam service sucks. I'm eating crow right now, by the way. That the Steam machines is just kind of like the logical progression from the Steam Deck, even though they already tried this idea before. Does that make sense? And the thing that's so cool about this is that I've talked to so many console gamers who actually got the Steam Deck because they saw all their friends playing on PC and wanting to play those games, whether it's using the touchpad instead of a mouse and keyboard, or just using it as kind of like a machine for all sorts of different things that you know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to mention in this video. That's a wink wink, by the way. So what does this mean? Do we think that Valve's Steam machines are just going to take over console gaming? It all depends on where people stand when it comes to the perception of the PlayStation and the Xbox as a viable standalone machine. Now, I say that because there are a couple of hurdles that I can think of that will prevent a quick adoption of the Steam machine. One there is still a delay between PlayStation releases and PC versions of those PlayStation releases, and Sony can delay this as much as they want. It's very rare for a PlayStation game to come out day and date on the PC unless it's like some sort of multiplayer game. And when it comes to the Xbox, they also have their own ecosystem. And to my knowledge, and please let me know in the comments below if you know more about this, it's kind of still tricky to make Xbox anything run on the Steam Deck hardware. And again, Steam Deck hardware, right? Given that the Steam Machines is going to be like 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, maybe the idea is different. But there's also the accessibility part of it, because a lot of console gamers love the simplicity and don't want to tinker at all when it comes to like INI files or copying over files and whatnot, because it feels like work. I remember speaking to one of my community members prior to Trails in the Sky First Chapter remake actually coming out that I wanted to play the original Trails in the Sky First Chapter with voice acting. And of course, he gave me like all of these long instructions and I completely tuned out and thought to myself, you know what? I'll just wait for the remake. And while some of you are basically going to nitpick and say like, Lexi, that is so freaking easy. You just do all these directions. These are directions that me and a whole bunch of people don't want to follow, because all we want to do is literally play the game and not spend 10 hours trying to configure things. Okay? Okay. And yes, the person who suggested it doesn't have a lot of time either. But for me, I would much rather play games rather than mess around with files. Back in the day when I was a hardcore PC gamer, I literally spent 2 to 3 hours tinkering with INI files, setups, and everything just to make sure a game does not chug. And I was so burnt out that I just literally stopped and didn't even play the game at that point. Thankfully, the Steam Deck seems to have found a rhythm when it comes to that. A lot of the games that I've tried on the platform are very consistent in terms of performance. Now granted, there's probably going to be like another kind of rating system that has something to do with the Steam machines, but that is so cool. I just gotta say that. That is so cool that Valve has somehow managed to figure out a way to make PC games accessible, right? The second part of how I see slower adoption to Steam machines is that it is missing one very crucial component of console gaming. You know what I'm talking about? Physical games. Now, think about how many people raised the stink because of the game key situation. Like, it almost derailed the popularity of the Switch 2, but it's still selling extremely well despite that. And there are valid points, to be fair, especially when you talk to developers who basically say like, you know what? Those cartridges that Nintendo provided us, the one that is like 64 gigabytes, the speed of that is a lot slower than the onboard hard drive on the Switch 2. So I get that part. And apart from its own like SDHC or whatever the hell standard they're going to have in terms of external storage, it's not going to have any sort of physical component to it. It's all interfaced with the Steam OS and of course the Steam store. And a lot of people love those collections. That's not to say that there's no solutions around that. I've already seen companies like Square Enix kind of work around that sort of limitation by essentially offering a digital package where you buy the game separately and you basically buy the collector's edition components as physical things that get sent to you. It's not exactly that you get the game physically, but at least the physical goods that come with that collector's edition is still obtainable. Honestly, I don't know the solution to this because a lot of people really do value the physical nature of their games. And as far as I know, nobody is making like fake game cases that have the Steam logo and of course the cover of the game there. And let's be real, there's something about the physical nature of collections that kind of gives you some street cred. You know what I'm saying? So what's the point of all this ranting? Well, I just want us to consider the future of what the Steam Machines is offering. And I know, I didn't even talk about the VR headset, which I'm like, okay, Valve, you're a bit too late when it comes to that, because I feel that the VR craze is on its way out. I know, that's controversial, but if you want me to talk about that, please post in the comments below. And as far as like Elite controllers are concerned, cool, I hope you enjoy it, whatever. But I want you to consider the points that I brought up because as someone who reflexively reacted to this announcement as, who is this thing for? Well, there's a lot of precedent to this that could allow Valve to just unexpectedly take over the console market beneath our noses. Is that the right phrase? I hope so. Anyways, I want to hear what you think about this because I think that this is actually a really big deal. And while it kind of looks like a weird Xbox Series S prototype / GameCube, which a lot of you have already seen on the internet, I'm just curious what you all think about this because new hardware is always a big deal, whether it's somebody revisiting old hardware or building off of something popular like the Steam Deck. Because let's face it, the Steam Deck is a pretty good machine, regardless of its power. And if this thing is supposed to be 6 times more powerful, well, sign me up. I'm just curious how much this thing will cost when it comes out in early 2026. Anyways, this is your auntie signing off, and if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel as we try to hit our goal of 55,000 subscribers. Alright, catch you in the next video, everyone. Bye!